So, mental authority overview. Truth comes from the entire body. Leading questions. Does this decision feel right? Decision time frame. After you have been able to process and find your clarity. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it resonates. I've been experimenting with this and it's definitely, yeah, I feel like I've been able to make better decisions or decisions that feel more aligned by experimenting with this. And I love that the time frame is after you've been able to process and find clarity, because it's definitely not like, oh hey, I'll know in an hour. Like, you can't really put a time frame on it. Um, yeah, it's more of a feeling.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially with so many open centers and like all the like body centers being open. That's really interesting, like learning how to process that for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Because with the mental projector, it's, like you said, it's basically its throat and above are the only centers that can be, potentially defined. And of course, it's either all three or just the
Two out
mind,
of the three.
right? The
Yeah.
ajna and the crown. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of open centers. So more on mental authorities. So they are able to differentiate between their thinking mind and their sensing intuitive mind to master their design efficiently or effectively. They possess a focused perspective on the outside world, leveraging their intuitive mind for personal decisions and their thinking mind for insightful perspectives. Intuition, stemming from the sensing mind, guides decisions without the need for logical explanations, contrasting with the rationality of the thinking mind. Decision making for individuals without defined centers below the throat involves assessing the environment's suitability and recognizing bodily responses. So, I'll just kind of like chime in right there really
Yes,
quick.
please.
So, yeah, I kind of touched on this a moment ago, right? But again, it's like throat and above are the only centers that are defined. And so with a mental projector, like our minds are really, I feel like that's where our powerhouse is. It's, because that's where our definition is, right? So that's where we feel confident and more like dominant in regards to our ability to like think and process information. You know, pretty opinionated, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So the interesting thing though is we know that we're not supposed to like make decisions from our minds, right? We learn that in human design. And it's been, I feel like, been life changing for me to realize that I'm supposed to make the decision from my body. um, because like just having this awareness and then being able to actually experiment with it and try it out and realize that, um, because again, like the mental projector is going to have a fully open like body graph on down from the throat. So it's like all those open centers are, just going to be more, I want to say like sensitive, and it just,
Hmm.
that's why it's so important for that like feel it in your body to make the decision. So it's just a really neat thing once you're able to like do that and really assess your environment and like, okay, does this environment feel right? Does it feel good? Does it not? And then like being able to follow that is just really key.
It's really, really interesting, like learning how to like process all that energy because it's so many open centers. It's like six, even like possibly seven, depending on like how a mental projector is set up. So it's like so much sensitivity, and then like using that as like almost like feelers, like you said, in the environment of like, is this right? Is this mine?
Mhm.
Oh, that person's having a weird day, but it's not mine. And then to learn to process all of that through your body and then find your truth. I'm very fascinated and curious about that for you.
Yeah, it really is. And then on top of it, even like if I'm not in the right environment and I know it, then I can't even make the right decision. Like the right invitation isn't going to come. It's not going to be correct for me if I'm in the wrong environment to begin with. So that's just assessing whether you're in the right environment first and foremost is like super important.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, All right, I'll continue with the points here. So next we have trusted advisors provide support for mental authority types without influencing decisions. Oh, yes. Okay.
Tell me
This is
more.
so important. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to keep on
No,
interjecting.
please interrupt. I'm so excited that you got excited. I'm like, yes, teach me the things.
Yeah. So I found this out because I realized I love to hear myself talk. Okay. Um, but it's not just because I like to hear myself, it's because I need to hear myself talk to figure out whether something's right for me. Like, because if you just like speak to yourself in your head, though obviously that's important, it's not the same as speaking to people in your circle that you trust. And so for mental projectors, part of our decision making process, is super important that we have people that we can rely on, like that we can trust just to hear us out. And it's not that, you know, like, so for me, I've got a handful of friends that I know, hey, can I talk to you, like talk through something with you? And of course they're like, yes, right? And I can either send them voice memos, um, or call them on the phone, or, if we can meet in person, even better, right? Um, because for the mental authority part of it is the environment and the people you're around, but it's also just being able to like hear yourself talk it through with that trusted person.
Mhm.
Because for me, like, as I've been testing this out, and I'll just throw this out there because we haven't talked about it, but I'm a mental projector, but I'm also 3/5, so I have to try things out and experiment with it. So I'm gonna probably use a lot of language like that because it's just my process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, I have to talk it out because while I'm talking it out, that's when I'm gonna get that feeling, and it's gonna come as a feeling and then as like a I know for me, like, oh, I know this is the right decision, or I know this isn't what I need to do. And like my friend may have said something, but most likely they probably didn't even give me any advice. They literally just were listening to me, and then I got the answer just by talking through it. So um yeah, if you're a mental projector, make sure you have close people in your life that you can trust, that feel good and right and correct for you, that you can just send a quick voice memo to or talk to, um, when you just need to talk something through when you're trying to make a decision.
That's really perfect. That's really, really great advice. Thank you for that. And just
Yeah.
giving words to, because oftentimes, you're studying human design and you're like checking out other people's authority and what's this like for them. And you just gave so much like a fuller picture of like the soundboarding authority of just like, you could just talk at your people and then how that like comes through your body and turns into like a definitive knowing. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. That's how it's channeled for me. And it's been interesting because when I first found out I was a mental projector and I was learning about the mental authority, I'm like, what is this? This makes no sense. Like my own self, my own authority didn't make sense to me, and it was actually really frustrating. Until I I found this clip from Raw and I listened to it enough times that all of a sudden it like clicked and it made sense. And then I started experimenting with it and I was like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Um, so yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I get so excited about it, especially when I bump into other mental projectors. Um, I just love to hear their experiences, and I love to talk it through with them because it's been a game changer for me. It's really easy, in this like 3D world, for us to think that we make decisions from our mind and get caught in this like, um, I don't know, this like loop of anxiety inducing, like, oh, do I do this? Do I do this? And like human design just lays it nice and like simply out for us, like, hey, just do it, just try it and you'll see. So yeah.
Very well said.
Thank you. The other uh, point here on mental authorities, so prioritizing saying no to anything not fully aligned, conserving energy and avoiding misaligned commitments. And I feel like this really goes for in different ways for pretty much any authority, but definitely like, yeah, it's important, especially as a projector, to make sure you're saying no to something that's not fully aligned. And then sensing what feels right, is especially when unable to justify logically, leads mental projectors towards decisions in harmony with their true path.
Very
Yeah.
cool. All right. 6-step decision-making guide. Number 1. When a decision is first presented, gather all information and mentally process it. Number 2. After reviewing everything, change your physical environment. Number 3. In a new, comfortable environment, reconsider the decision. If you feel complete clarity in your body, you found your truth and it's time to act. 4. If you're uncertain, change your surroundings or consult a trusted friend to discuss your thoughts until clarity emerges. Keep using your 3 strategies: mentally analyzing, visiting favored environments, and talking it out. Number 5. If fear is hindering your understanding of your authority, allow yourself extra time to utilize your 3 tools. Finally, number 6. Ultimately, ask yourself if something feels right. If it does, you found alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds right. Definitely. I like how like clearly it's laid out here. I don't know that I've honestly ever seen anything lay out this clearly and concisely. So yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Moana does a really great job with the slides. And it's interesting, they like change your environment and reconsider. I've never heard that, I mean, with anyone, but like, with a mental projector, like that's a very interesting, just an added step to kind of play with in order to find your clarity. Like, have you experimented with that, or how's your feelings on it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just comes back to just a combination of like being in the right environment. I know I have a handful of places that are like my safe place that I love to go. For me, my room is one. I've got like my favorite local coffee shop that I go to all the time. Um, with like my favorite people. I definitely have a handful of places where it's like, okay, these environments feel really good to me. Um, and then same with people, and a lot of that just comes back to the fact that because mental projectors are so open, and we are so sensitive to our environment, that depending on whom I'm around, right, I'm going to be picking up the energy from those other people, those other friends, and the environment and whatnot. And so I feel like it can just help give a more like, it can just help provide that clarity, like a more clear picture in regards to, again, that like feeling in the body, um, to really tune in and discover whether something feels correct and aligned or not.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right. So primary conditioning for mental authority: feeling indecisive or uncertain about decisions, sensitivity being perceived as a weakness, leading to a desire to conceal it, experiencing persistent pressure to overthink situations, belief in the necessity of striving hard and advancing up the corporate hierarchy for achievement, relying on others for solutions rather than trusting oneself, distrust and emotions that defy logical explanation, sense of detachment from one's body's intuitive guidance. Wow. Okay. Again, like this whole list is so good. So the okay, so the first one, feeling indecisive or uncertain about decisions. It's so interesting, like, to just see this one, and it just took me right back to like one of my own experiences. Um, so a few years ago, it's interesting because so for me, my definition is through the channel of structuring. So it's 4323. And so it's really important for me. I've found like a lot of power in being decisive and being able to say I know when I speak. Like it's really powerful and potent, and like I don't know, there's not much like it. It's funny I just said I don't know, but because I couldn't
There's
think of
knowing
it.
and not knowing.
Yeah, it's knowing or not knowing. You're right. It's knowing or not knowing. And I couldn't think of another way what to compare it to, but it's just really potent for me. So a few years back, I used to say, I don't know, like all the time. It was a really common phrase in my language to the point of even when I knew something, I would say, I don't know, as like a safety mechanism.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I had to do some like inner work and I had some experiences, that I went through to really shift out of that and to find my own like empowerment and that confidence to be able to be like, I know, and say that and speak from that place and like own some of that authority that like naturally, um, on certain things I'm going to have, right? I mean, we really all do. But like learning how to feel decisive and like trust myself, which I know is also on that list. It's been a huge part of my journey. And I can't think of anything else that has quite compared to my deconditioning process as seeing myself grow by leaning into that like self trust and that knowing, um, which is just part of the process. And like the beautiful thing though with this list that I found with the conditioning is it's like, even though I feel like maybe initially in my mind I want to look at it as a not so good thing, without experiencing these things, I wouldn't be able to like have this journey of transformation and then being on the flip side of it, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it's like it's all necessary. It's all necessary in our process.
Yeah, it's like all the things, especially as a third line. I'm also a 3-5. So it's like all the things that we have to
Yeah.
bump into. It's just, it is our natural process of like, that is how we learn about the world. Like we're like toddlers just bumping into things. And it's
Mhm.
like, ah, cool. Now I know not to do it that way. And being able to like turn and shift it and then like needling into like, I'm going to find the best and perfect ways to do all the things because I bumped into every single way not to do it.
Right, right. And it's such a game changer shifting to that. Um, and I know we've talked a lot about like feeling things in the body, that last point, just about the sense of detachment from one's body and intuitive guidance. That's also been a big thing, learning how to actually be in my body. I didn't realize how much time I've spent like really feeling detached from my own body. And I've, as I've been going through this, like for me, my own like healing journey and deconditioning experience and all of it, learning tools to like really be grounded and like sit in my body to be able to feel everything has been a game changer too. So,
Yeah, I feel that like really, really deeply. It's like soul re-embodiment where it's like we come here and like we don't have that like blueprint of like how is it they go about life as me and like we try to live as other people and it makes a big mess of everything and it's like our soul, our spirit is just like, whoa, I don't know about all this. This is weird. And like we detach and like dissociate. And so like, yeah, I definitely feel that really, really hard. And like going through the deconditioning and learning how to live as ourselves, it's like we can like actually allow our souls to re-embody and like feel safe and like make home here.
right.
We know how to play the game and we know how to listen and take care of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, tips. Tips. When stuck in overthinking decisions, visualize a white line descending from your mind to your body to tap into your body's wisdom. Number two, minimize time spent in environments that feel wrong or uncomfortable, trusting they are out of alignment. Number three, explore enjoyable techniques for mental analysis, such as creating colorful lists, diagrams, or spreadsheets. And finally, establish two favorite home environments and three in each town and an hour away to gain fresh perspectives. That was really funny. That's very interesting to like really like, okay, you have your favorite places and now go somewhere else and then go somewhere else and then go somewhere else. So you don't get like caught up
Yeah,
into some other kind of directional energy that's maybe like pulling you away.
right. I'm interested. I need to try out some of these tips. Um, I haven't done the first one, though I have my own like visualization that I do. Um, I had this experience in a a plant medicine ceremony where I had this really cool vision of like being in my mind and then walking down this like spiral staircase into my heart. And so
Oh.
sometimes I like, and I just picture like I'll just breathe really deep and imagine this like this process of like going into my heart and connecting there, and that usually helps settle me into my body. um yeah, and then just minimizing time spent in environments that don't feel correct, like that's 100%. I totally laughed and saw like my child come out in that third tip though, because I'm like, oh man, yeah, I love like, all the pens and the different colors and the, sticky notes and the fun journals and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like how can I reformat the information to like understand the system of how they go together?
right. Um, and then the last one is so good. I know I was talking about some of my favorite environments earlier. I'm like, oh man, I could probably add a couple to my list. I have a few. I've got like my favorite yoga studio, things like that. But um, yeah, I like the idea too of one being an hour away to like really get a fresh
Hmm.
perspective.
Yeah, that's
So
really
I
cool.
think these are some awesome tips. Good habits. So as a mental authority, starting your day with grounding exercises like yoga, intentional breathing, tapping, dancing, or chanting mantras. Yes. I recently found Kundalini yoga and have discovered how much I absolutely love it. I had heard about it and I'm like, I don't know what, like the first time I tried it, I was like, I don't know what the appeal to this is. But after I did it a few more times, I was like, oh, this is it. And I like found the right yoga studio and the right teacher, right? That just like feel really good. Um, so yeah, definitely all of the above. Intentional breathing. I love tapping, like doing tapping. I'm
EFT
assuming this
tapping.
yeah, okay, I was like, I think that's what this means because I do
Yeah,
that. Um,
yeah, that's really powerful. It's good stuff.
yeah, I definitely do that to, like, just reconnect myself, right? Because it again, with the open centers and everything, I think I know I at least have experienced that it can be easy if we're in the wrong environment or whatnot sometimes to just kind of become a little detached, so that helps with the connection. Another good habit, using sage or Palo Santo to cleanse your aura or home from unwanted energy. Yes, it makes such a difference. And again, just using those plants and being able to smell them too, inhale, maybe do some intentional breathing with them too. Again, it just really helps ground you. Affirming aloud your intention to case your mind and let go of worries. Repeat the mantra, I give myself time for clarity 3 times to cultivate patience. Show gratitude and enhance your connection with your home by placing offerings like crystals, incense, or flowers. And then regularly spend time outdoors to connect with nature and earth. Yeah, these are all really good ones.
Yeah. It makes sense a lot too with like the open identity to like create a really nice environment for yourself.
Yeah,
Make it
exactly. And that's
special.
what all this does. Yeah, definitely. Like, um, I've found crystals help. I have different ones, and when I feel connected to one, maybe I'll carry it with me, that day, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and outside time is huge. I noticed such a difference. So, like for example, I'm still in the process of moving away from corporate America. I do currently still work like a corporate job. And so I notice that if I stay behind my desk too long, that's when I start to feel like I'm not human. But as
Hmm.
soon as I just take the time and excuse myself, go outside, go on a walk, like take that time that I need, it's a big shift. So that in and of itself is really impactful.
Yeah, that's really powerful and just like it's really cool to hear your experience and then like how you've come to learn to like process all this energy and how you find your decision making ability And like, it's really, really neat. And all the ways like you help yourself to like, okay, how can I take care of me and my body and my environment and make that feel really good so I can best be able to process all the data that like you're taking in. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Definitely.
Thank you.
All right, Moni.